So yeah, I usually just start off with like an introduction. So would you mind just telling us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, of course. Okay, I'm Miranda. I am a fourth year student at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. I study international relations and English, and I'm half American, half British.
Oh, cool. So did you grow up between the UK and the US?
Yes, mainly in the US. I spent 2.5 years about in the UK, but mainly in Connecticut in the States.
So yeah, I know you also took a gap year. Do you want to talk a bit about that and like what you did during that time?
Yeah, of course. So, on my gap year, I taught music at a British international boarding school in Thailand for 11 months, which was so fun. It was honestly some of the best times I've ever had. It definitely wasn't easy. It
Yeah.
was very far away from home, about a 12-hour time difference, about a 24-hour journey by plane. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't easy being so far away from home for sure, but I think teaching gave me a lot of confidence in myself that I didn't necessarily have before. And also, I love music and I love to sing. So, teaching in a subject that I was really passionate about gave me a chance to have a break from learning so much in high school and to have that before uni. I think that was so important in going into uni like fresh and ready to go. Now I don't feel fresh and ready to go anymore, but when I entered first year I was like, I can't wait to write essays again, it'll be so fun. So
Yeah, yeah. So is like, would you recommend people take a gap year?
100%. And I know that it can seem really financially like
Yeah.
a big obstacle, but the program I did, they actually paid you to be there. So we got about $300 a month, which to live on. And we also got our food and our board provided living in the boarding school. So it's not necessarily like you can find programs that will pay you to do them. It doesn't have to be a huge expense. Obviously, flights and stuff are expensive, but any sort of gap year, even when you're just working at home, I think is so like it's such a good thing to do. I think everyone should take a gap year, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think when you're like 17 or 18, you don't really know what you're going to be doing like for the rest of your life.
Exactly. It really helped me clarify. I was
Yeah.
going to go in just for international relations, and it helped me clarify that I did want to do English as well. So I think separating yourself from the college and uni process is so important when you're trying to figure out exactly what you want to do for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, so why did you decide to go to St. Andrews? Because I mean, there's a lot of like good schools, in the UK and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So St. Andrews was actually the only school in the UK I applied to.
Oh,
We had a
okay.
representative come to my school, which was sort of, I guess, part of the reason why I chose it. I just ended up learning things about it, and I liked that. Well, like in the US, a lot of schools have general education courses. So regardless of what your degree is, you still have to take things like science and math. And I'm just really not a science and math person.
Yeah.
I really prefer the humanities subjects. And so one of the things that really appealed to me about St. Andrews is that I could take only classes I wanted to take and that I wouldn't have to take science and math. And I just think that's a better way of learning for me. I was done with math classes after high school and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, cool, cool. So yeah, so what is the kind of course structure? Like, is there a lot of, like, I guess, electives, or is there compulsory classes as well?
So you can go in choose so you go in choosing either one or two sort of degree paths you can
Yeah.
take. You can have a double major, but whatever your degree path is, you take one class a semester in that, and then you either have two electives in other subjects or one elective depending on how many sort of degree paths you've chosen. And then that's for the first 2 years. And then the second 2 years, you just have one class per semester in each of your topics. Or if you're just a single like major, you just have two classes in that one. So you do get to play around a bit with what you want
Yeah.
to do and have some electives, but then you get to really narrow in on what you're interested in, which is something I really like about that.
Yeah, cool, cool. So, what's your schedule like these days? Like, how many hours of class would you have?
I have 2 hours of in-person class per week right now.
Okay.
So that's like my small group classes where we discuss the
Yeah.
lectures and the content in there. And then my lectures are all online, but they're about an hour or two of lectures per week. So I have about 4 to 6 class hours a week, which sounds like a really
Okay.
small amount
Yeah.
compared to a lot of other schools, but it's a lot of like independent study. I think like one of my modules this semester, the course guide said, I think it's my dissertation one, which makes sense, but
Mm.
for my dissertation, it's like 25 hours of guided study and like 256 hours of independent
Wow.
study. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God. So that's been interesting. But St. Andrews is definitely big on independent learning, and you have a lot less course, like in person
Mm.
course time than I think a lot of other schools do.
Right. Okay. And how did you find making friends? Because you didn't really know anyone there, right, when you first got there?
I knew a few people
Oh,
from
okay.
my school, but not like they were all older than me because I had
Oh,
taken
yeah,
a
yeah.
gap year. So I think making friends was, I had friends at the beginning, but I wasn't sure if they were people I was like super connected to. And some of them were, and some of them are still. Like my best friend is one of the first people I met at St. Andrews, and we've just grown closer like throughout the years. And that's been super nice. But also, some of the first people I met are people I've like drifted away from, which I think is
Mm.
totally fine too. I think that getting involved was my biggest, like, was where I made the most of my friends. I'm really into musical theater and stuff, so getting involved in like the musical theater society, and like I auditioned for an a cappella group, which I'm in now, and that's where I've met some of my best friends. So trying new things, but also doing the things I like to do and meeting people with similar interests. I think like getting involved is like the best way to do that. Even though it can be super scary at first, especially with stuff you have to like audition for or like try out for, like sports. But
Yeah.
like getting over that hurdle is like where you like get the best rewards from, I feel like.
Cool, cool. And what's the accommodation like? Because did you live in halls when you first got there?
I did. I
Yeah.
lived in halls the first year, and it was fine. I didn't the
Yeah.
food wasn't great. Especially as a vegetarian, I will say I
Okay.
felt a little malnourished.
Yeah.
But my friends who live in halls swear it has gotten better since then.
Okay.
But halls generally are pretty good. They're like a lot of them are like really old buildings, so they're like really beautiful and like
Mm.
look like castle-esque and stuff and fit into the St.
Yeah.
Andrews aesthetic of like castle ruins. So
Yeah.
that's really nice.
Cool, cool. And so are you like flatting now, like in a renting a room?
Yeah, so I've been in private accommodation since the end of first year. So I've lived in two different flats.
Yeah.
So I've stayed in this one for 2 years, which I really like because I can cook my own food. Not that I'm much of a chef. I'm like a
Yeah,
big
sure.
butter pasta gal.
Yeah, sure.
But private accommodation is nice, even though you have to deal with all the things like paying utilities and like Wi-Fi and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
it's worth it, I think.
How did you find your room? Like, did you just know someone or go
So my
online?
first flat, most people move out of halls first year in St. Andrews, just because there's just a lot of private accommodation in
Yeah.
town, but it's like a really competitive market as well. So we actually found my flatmate and I found our first flat on Gumtree, which is like a
Okay.
Craigslist for the UK.
Yeah.
So a little sketchy,
Yeah.
but it was a great flat and the landlord was awesome. But
Yeah.
that's actually how we found our first one. And then we knew someone who had the flat I'm in currently, so we got in there nice and early the next year and got this one for the next 2 years, which is nice.
Right, cool, cool. So I know you have a car, right? But
Yes.
like St. Andrews is pretty small, so would you say it's like easy to get around? Like
Oh,
even
it's
just
totally easy to get around, and it is
yeah.
not necessary by any means to have a car. I just saw an opportunity for
Yeah.
a cheap one and decided to take it. I only paid £800 for it,
Okay,
but it's
okay.
also a 2003 Toyota Corolla. So
Yeah.
it's very give and take on whether or not it will work properly, but it drives, and that's really all I need it for. But I really
Right.
only use it to go to the grocery store, to save walking
Yeah.
back with groceries, and to go to the gym. So it's very easy to get around St. Andrews walking.
Okay, cool, cool. And how have you found like homesick? Like do you miss home or you don't really think about
Yeah,
it much?
definitely. I think because I was in Thailand, it feels like I'm a lot closer to home than it would otherwise had I just gone straight here, because I feel like I'm like, oh, I'm just like one flight home instead of two now. So I definitely do get homesick. I miss my family a lot, but my dad does a lot of business in the UK, so normally I get to see him at least once or twice a semester, which is nice. But obviously, right now that's not happening. But I try to FaceTime with them frequently, and the time zone's better here too than it is in Thailand. So it's only a 5-hour difference. So I FaceTime with them a lot and try to keep in regular contact, so it's not too bad.
Oh yeah, 5 hours. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's like if you're on like the West Coast in the US, right?
Yeah,
It's pretty much the
exactly.
same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And how, like, I know you have a packing video, but do you have any regrets, like things you wish that you didn't bring?
Things I wish I didn't bring.
Or,
So many clothes.
oh,
I always
yeah,
bring so many warm weather clothes because I'm like, oh, because I
yeah.
could when I left Connecticut to come to St. Andrews this year, it was 90 degrees in Connecticut Fahrenheit, and it was
Um,
like 40 when I landed here. And I was like, immediately, I was like,
yeah,
oh, it's not summer anymore.
yeah.
So I always bring too many warm weather clothing because I'm like, I'm gonna go
Um,
on holiday, and like obviously that's not happening this
yeah.
year. So too many warm weather clothing items is definitely my biggest regret, because then I end up bringing them all back with me, having to buy extra suitcase slots on airplanes is always so expensive, and like happens to me every time.
Yeah, I think with clothes, because you can always buy clothes where you are anyway, so
Exactly.
there's no point
And I
bringing
do
them.
that too, which is the bad thing. I just keep
Yeah,
buying clothes, and I have all the ones
yeah.
that I don't wear.
Okay. Yeah. Did you also study languages as well?
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
Arabic my first 2 years at uni, which was very hard.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not a natural language learner, but I love the language. But I just decided it was not meant to be part of my degree. It was too
Okay, yeah.
difficult.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought it was like a compulsory thing, like if you did international relations.
Oh,
No.
no, a lot of people do languages. Like I know a lot of
Yeah.
people who do like international relations with like Arabic and Persian
Yeah.
or like Russian, and like that's definitely like a lot of people do that. I just Arabic could not it beat me. But
Yeah.
I like to like study it in my spare time with like Duolingo and
Or
stuff, but
yeah.
just at the uni level was a little too much for my brain to handle.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. So now, like, kind of going into your YouTube, because you started it a few years ago. I think you had like musical theater videos, like singing videos.
Yeah, it used to be like, I think I've had a YouTube since like
Yeah.
2011, maybe, like a while. And I used to just upload my singing videos so I could send them to my relatives and stuff, because I
Yeah.
do a lot of musical theater. So it just sort of became a place for me to like collate like all my singing videos. And like when I applied to colleges in America, I sent them some sort of samples of me singing for like scholarship considerations and
Yeah.
stuff. So like those are up there, and like some recordings I have. And then I started like doing YouTube like vlogging and stuff almost a year ago now. I think last November actually, which is crazy. It feels like it's been such a long year,
Yeah. Yeah.
short year at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started like vlogging and stuff, I think about
Cool.
a year ago.
Yeah. So what made you want to like start making videos, like vlogs? Was it just to
I have been
document
such
or?
I've been such a YouTube watcher for the longest
Yeah.
time, and I always was like, oh, being a vlogger would be
Mm.
so fun. And I remember in high school, I'd watch people like Tati, and I'd be like, I want to be a beauty
Oh
YouTuber.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's all I want in
Yeah. I think we
life.
all had that phase.
Oh, definitely. And so I remember asking my friends, I was like, if
Yeah.
I did makeup videos, would you watch them? And my friends were like, I mean, I guess. And I
Yeah.
was like, not enough interest. But
Yeah.
when I went to St. Andrews, I was like, there is a
Mm.
lack of vloggers here. And I just think
Yeah.
that there were like a few, but nobody who uploaded sort of regularly, and no one who did sort of like vlog style I was used to seeing in like influencers I watch. And I was like, I think it'd be quite useful for anyone who's applying to St. Andrews, since there are so many international students, to see a little bit more of what St. Andrews is like, how it's different from like American or other international schools, really see like days in the life. So that's why I started doing it. And a lot of people have told me it's been really useful, which has made me really happy. I wasn't sure like if it was something
Yeah.
people wanted to see, but I've been able to like connect with a lot of prospective students and answer their questions, which has been super like gratifying for me. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm helping out in a small
Right,
way, which
right.
is nice.
True, true. Okay. I mean, I know obviously now we can't really travel, but were you able to do like weekend trips like to other places in Scotland or
Yeah, I went
Europe?
to Edinburgh a few times, which has been so fun. The furthest weekend trip I did was probably to see my grandparents in England, but we
Oh
have
yeah.
like pretty generous breaks. So I
Mm.
think I was supposed to go to Barcelona in March,
Oh.
which didn't happen,
Yeah.
sadly. But I think before that, I've gone to like, I went to Dublin for St. Patrick's Day, my second
Yeah.
year, went to Portugal, which was super cool. Where else did I go? I went to Prague and Budapest, Canary Islands. So there's a lot of opportunities to travel for really cheap here, which is so nice for someone
Yeah,
who likes to
definitely.
travel. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think all the countries are a lot closer together, so you can get to
exactly.
like the
I went
nice.
to Amsterdam my first year for like $20, like
Yeah,
round
that's so
trip on
good.
a
Yeah.
plane. And this is insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have like a bucket list or places that you want to go? Like
Really want
everywhere?
everywhere,
Yeah.
but I really want to interrail for
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
so there's a month between the end of our exams and graduation. So like basically the entire month, like half of May and half of June. And I really want to interrail around Europe. And that's been my plan for like 3 years. As of now, it's not looking likely, but I
Yeah.
have my fingers crossed. You never know.
Yeah.
COVID could get much better in Europe by then, and maybe there's a
Yeah.
vaccine, but I really want to interrail around Europe. I think it would be so cool and such a fun way to see all the countries that I've yet to see. So
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
definitely on my bucket list.
I think you can make some good vlogs as well, like travel vlogs. Yeah.
Exactly. Great content, great times. What more could you
Yeah.
ask for?
It's funny because like, do you ever think like when you're gonna do something like, oh wow, this would make a good video? Like
Yes,
sometimes
I
that's what I
do.
think. Yeah.
I was like, Barcelona would have been such a good
Yeah.
travel vlog, but like one day.
Yeah. Um, I guess it's hard to plan, but do you have any idea like what you're gonna do after you graduate? Like, do you think you'll go back to the US or
I don't
gonna
know.
stay?
A lot of it honestly is riding on this election.
Oh, true.
I'd really
Yeah, it's
like to
today, isn't
see.
it?
Yep,
Yeah,
it's today. So
crazy.
I would like to. I have passports in both countries, which
Okay,
is
yeah,
really
that's
like
good.
I'm really
Yeah,
thankful for, because that means I can stay here without a visa. But it also depends on where I get a job opportunity. I have no
oh,
idea what I
true.
want to do still, which is becoming an issue because as I get further and further away, like as I get closer to graduating, I still I'm
Yeah,
struggling, but maybe something in publishing or advertising. It'd be cool to work at like an embassy for
yeah,
the US government, but I'm really trying to narrow it down still and not having much success because just there's a lot of stuff that interests me. So
yeah,
it's becoming a problem, but I don't know. I could either stay here or go to the US, but I think I'll probably return to the US at some point and like
yeah.
settle there probably.
Okay, cool, cool. I guess just finally, do you have any tips or advice for people that are maybe coming to St. Andrews and studying English or international relations?
I think just one, like the biggest thing is like get involved with stuff that makes you happy. That's the best way to make friends and the best way to get like the most out of your experience at St. Andrews.
Yeah,
And I also think that like learning a time management system and a way of like being productive that works for you is really important, because the classes are so independently like so heavily focused on independent learning, that taking your first 2 years to really figure out a way that works for you in terms of like structuring your time and making sure you get everything done is super important, and that sets you up really well for the final 2 years of your degree. So I think those would be my biggest 2 tips.
Okay, cool. So just getting organized from like day one,
Yeah,
basically. Yeah,
exactly.
cool, cool. Thanks so much for taking the
Oh,
time.
thank you. This has been so fun.
No worries. I'll leave you links down below because I know you have a ton of videos on St. Andrews. So
Yes, I
yeah,
try to
they
make
can check
them
out.
standards
Yeah,
content. Thank
yeah.
you.
So
This
yeah,
has
I'll leave
been
your
so
links.
fun.
No worries. Cool, cool. Yeah. Thanks again. Good luck for the future and your travels and everything.
Thank you so much. Also, I've been watching your videos and they're so interesting. I've been loving
Oh yeah.
listening to everyone else's like uni
Yeah, thank
experiences.
you.
So cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to get like a good variety of different places and
You have so many different schools. I was
yeah.
like going through all of them. I was like, wow, I'm learning so much.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, thanks so much. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your night,
Thank you.
evening. I
You
don't know.
have enjoy the rest of your day, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Cool,
All
cool.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye.